The truck erupted 50 meters ahead, orange fireball climbing into white sky, metal shrieking as it tumbled. Sarah's thermal feed went white, then red, bodies scattering like dropped toys. She killed the drone feed. Her hands shook on the tablet. The tracker on her vest blinked, still broadcasting. Dust rolled through the refugee camp below. Figures in mismatched tactical gear moved through the smoke. Wrong cadence, wrong formation. Not rescue, hunters. A child's hand gripped her wrist, small, filthy. The girl couldn't have been more than 8. "They come back tonight," she whispered in broken English. "But we know the way out." Sarah looked at the blinking tracker, at the camp, at the girl's eyes. She'd already made her choice. The building had no roof. Sarah pressed against the wall, plaster dust coating her rifle. Through the gap where a window used to be, she watched the street, empty except for a burned-out sedan and scattered concrete blocks. Her radio crackled. Nothing. Just static in the ghost of a carrier wave. She'd lost contact with her platoon 6 hours ago. The convoy had hit an IED cluster en route Falcon, vehicles scattering like startled birds. She'd gone left when everyone else went right. By the time the dust settled, she was alone. The ISR tablet on her chest rig still worked. Satellite feed showed her position, a red dot in a gray grid of ruins. Her unit was 3 clicks northeast, but between her and them lay a maze of collapsed buildings and hostile signatures her drone had tagged before the battery died. Sarah checked her ammunition. 4 magazines, 120 rounds, not enough for a firefight, barely enough to break contact if she needed to. Her water bottle was half empty. The sun was climbing. This sector of the city had no electricity, no running water, just rubble and the occasional crack of distant gunfire. She keyed her radio again. "Havoc 2-6, this is Calder. How copy?" Static answered. She should move. Find a better position, wait for dark, then navigate back to friendly lines. Standard E and E procedure. She'd trained for this. But through the window, she saw movement. Civilians. A dozen, maybe more. Women, children, a few old men. They moved in a tight cluster, heads down, carrying plastic bags and bundled blankets. One woman held a toddler against her chest. Another led 3 children by their hands. They were heading east, toward the fighting. Sarah watched them pass. None of them looked up at her window. They just walked, silent and determined, like people who'd already made their peace with whatever came next. She should let them go. Not her problem, not her mission. But the woman with the toddler stumbled. The child started crying, high and thin, the sound carrying in the dead air. The group stopped, clustered together, vulnerable. Sarah's training said, "Stay hidden. Civilians are not your responsibility." Her instinct said something else. She stayed at the window until they turned a corner and disappeared. 2 hours later, she heard the shooting. Sarah had moved to a 2-story shell on the southern edge of the sector. Better sightlines, more exits. She'd been plotting a route north when the gunfire started. Automatic weapons, close, maybe 400 meters east. Her tablet showed no friendly units in that direction, just empty grid squares and a cluster of unidentified signatures. The shooting stopped, then started again. Short bursts, controlled, not a firefight, something else. She climbed to the 2nd floor. The stairs were half collapsed, but she made it. From a hole in the outer wall, she had a view of the street below and the buildings beyond. Smoke rose from somewhere past the next block. Black, chemical, something burning that shouldn't burn. She raised her rifle scope, scanned. There, movement in a courtyard. Figures in civilian clothes running. A man fell. Another burst of gunfire and he stopped moving. Sarah's jaw tightened. Through the scope she saw them, the same refugees from before. Backed against a wall, armed men in mismatched gear, not uniforms, just tactical vests and rifles, standing in a loose semicircle around them. The woman with the toddler was on her knees, the child pressed against her shoulder. Silent now. Sarah's finger touched the trigger guard. Range, 350 meters. Wind, negligible. Clean shot. But 4 shooters, maybe more out of sight, and once she fired, her position was blown. Every hostile in the sector would converge on this building. She had 4 magazines. They had reinforcements. Her hand eased off the rifle. This wasn't her fight. These people weren't her responsibility. She had a duty to survive, regroup with her unit, complete her mission. One of the armed men raised his rifle, pointed it at the woman's head. Sarah's breath stopped. The man said something, laughed, lowered the rifle. He gestured at the group. The refugees stood, slowly, hands raised. The gunman herded them toward a side alley, prodding them with rifle barrels. Within 60 seconds, they were gone. Sarah lowered her rifle. Her hands were shaking. She told herself it was the smart choice, the tactical choice. She told herself she'd done what she was trained to do. But the toddler's face stayed in her mind. Wide eyes, silent. Sarah waited until dusk, then she moved. The alley where the refugees had been taken led to a collapsed marketplace. Stalls with rusted frames, torn tarps flapping in the evening breeze. She approached from the south, moving through shadows, rifle up. The refugees were there, huddled in the center of the marketplace, surrounded by debris. No guards visible, but Sarah knew better. She scanned rooftops, windows, doorways. Nothing. That meant they were close, watching. She counted the civilians, 14 total. The woman with the toddler was there, sitting on a chunk of concrete. The child slept against her chest. The others sat or stood in small groups, talking in low voices. They were alive. That was something. Sarah started to pull back. She'd confirmed their position. That was enough. She could report it when she linked up with her unit. Maybe they'd send a patrol. Maybe. Then she saw the water bottles, 2 cases, sitting 20 meters from the refugees, in the open, unopened. Bait. The moment someone went for that water, the shooters would open up. Classic ambush setup. The refugees probably didn't know. They were thirsty, desperate. Sooner or later, someone would try. Sarah's radio hissed. Copy, any station. She froze, keyed the handset. Havoc 2-6, this is Calder, how copy? Calder, say position. The signal dropped. Static. She tried again. Nothing. But they were out there, listening. If she could get to higher ground, maybe she could re-establish comms, call in a QRF, or she could warn these people about the water. Sarah crouched behind a collapsed wall. Tactical logic said, leave. But the woman with the toddler was looking at those water bottles. So were the others. Someone would go for them. Soon. Sarah made her decision. She stepped into the open. The refugees saw her immediately. A few gasped. One man stood, hands raising. Sarah kept her rifle lowered, non-threatening, and walked toward them. English? She said quietly. The woman with the toddler nodded. Little, she said. Her accent was thick, but understandable. The water, Sarah said, pointing. It's a trap. Don't touch it. The woman's eyes widened. She looked at the bottles, then back at Sarah. Trap? They're watching. If you go for the water, they'll shoot. The woman translated quickly to the others. A ripple of fear passed through the group. You, soldier? The woman asked. Yeah. You help us? Sarah hesitated. She should say no, should tell them to stay put, stay quiet, wait for friendly forces, should extract herself and get back to her unit. But the toddler stirred, opened her eyes, looked at Sarah. Yeah, Sarah said, I'll help. The man appeared from nowhere. Sarah was scanning the perimeter, planning an exit route, when she felt the presence behind her. She spun, rifle coming up. Easy, the man said. His voice was gravel and smoke. I'm friendly. He was older, 60s maybe, white beard, sun-weathered skin. He wore civilian clothes, khaki pants, a faded shirt, but his stance was military. Weight balanced, hands visible, but ready. "Who are you?" Sarah said, finger on the trigger. "Jack Rowan. Used to be 5th Group. Now I'm nobody." He nodded at the refugees. "You just signed up for a long night, specialist." "How do you—" "Your rank? It's on your kit." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "And I've been watching. You could have walked away. Didn't." Sarah lowered her rifle slightly. "You live here?" "Near enough. I've been advising local contractors for the past 2 years. Building projects, infrastructure. When the fighting started, most foreigners pulled out. I stayed." "Why?" "Because someone had to." He looked at the refugees. "These people aren't combatants, but the militias don't care. To them, everyone's either useful or disposable." "You know who's holding them?" "Local warlord, calls himself Al-Nazir, runs guns and extortion. He's using this camp as leverage, hostages to keep the coalition from bombing his supply routes." Jack's eyes met hers. "You just made yourself his enemy." Sarah felt her stomach tighten. "I didn't. You stepped into the open. His spotters saw you. Right now they're reporting an American soldier is protecting the refugees." Jack's voice was flat. "You just became the most valuable target in this sector." "Then I'll leave, pull back to my unit." "They won't let you, and they sure as hell won't let these people go. Not now." He gestured at the group. "You made a choice, Calder. Now you live with it." Sarah's jaw clenched. "I don't take orders from you." "No, but you'll take advice if you're smart." Jack stepped closer. "You've got 4 mags and no support. These people have nothing. In about 2 hours, Al-Nazir's men will come back. They'll take hostages, kill anyone who resists, and use the rest as human shields. So what do you suggest?" Jack looked at the sky. The sun was almost gone. "We move. Now. Before they set up." "Move where?" "North. There's a compound, abandoned UN post. Walls, gates, water. We can hold there, maybe long enough for your people to find us." Sarah shook her head. "That's suicide. We'd be pinned down." "We're already pinned down. At least there we'd have defensive positions." His eyes locked on hers. "You want to save them? Then start acting like a leader." They moved as a single unit. Sarah took point, Jack at the rear. The refugees stayed in the middle, silent, fast, disciplined in a way that surprised her. The streets were darker now. No lights, no electricity, just the fading blue of twilight and the distant glow of fires. Sarah used her night vision sparingly, conserving battery, relying on ambient light where she could. The compound was 6 blocks north. Jack had sketched the route on a scrap of paper. Right turns, narrow alleys, avoid the main roads. They moved through courtyards and broken buildings, stepping over rubble, ducking through gaps in walls. The woman with the toddler stayed close to Sarah. The child was awake now, watching everything with wide, silent eyes. "What's her name?" Sarah whispered. "Amina," the woman said. "And I am Layla." "Sarah," Layla nodded. "You are kind." Sarah didn't respond. Kindness had nothing to do with it. They reached the compound 15 minutes later. It was exactly as Jack described. High concrete walls, a rusted metal gate, a 2-story building inside with barred windows. Looked like it had been abandoned for months. Jack pushed the gate open. It groaned. Inside, fast. The refugees filed in. Sarah covered the street, rifle raised, scanning for movement. Nothing. Yet. Jack slammed the gate shut and looped a chain through the handles. It wouldn't stop anyone determined, but it would slow them down. "Building," he said. "2nd floor. We'll have sight lines." Sarah followed him inside. The interior was gutted. Desks overturned, papers scattered, graffiti on the walls. But the stairs were intact. They climbed. The 2nd floor had 4 rooms. Jack gestured at the largest. "This one. Windows on 3 sides. We can see them coming." Sarah posted herself at the east window. Below, the street was empty. For now, the refugees settled on the floor, quiet and exhausted. Layla sat with Amina in her lap, rocking gently. The toddler's eyes were closing. Jack stood beside Sarah. "You did good," he said. "We're not out yet." "No, but they're alive. That counts." He paused. "You know what happens next, right? They'll come for us." "Yeah, and when they do, you'll have to make a choice." His voice was low. "Save yourself or save them. Can't do both." Sarah's hand tightened on her rifle. "I'm not leaving them." "I know." Jack's eyes were sad. "That's why I'm worried." The first attack came at midnight. Sarah saw them on thermal. 8 signatures moving in pairs, approaching from the south. She keyed her radio, tried again to reach her unit. Still nothing but static. "Jack," she whispered. He was already at the window. "I see them." "Rules of engagement?" "They shoot, you..." The figures were 200 meters out now, moving cautiously, using cover. Professional. Trained. One of them stopped, raised a hand. The others halted. Then a voice, amplified by a bullhorn, echoed across the street. "American soldier, we know you are there. Send out the refugees. We will let you go." Sarah didn't respond. "You cannot win. You have no support, no reinforcements. Give them to us and you walk away." Jack leaned close. "Don't answer. Let them think." The voice came again. "We do not want to kill you, but we will. Give us the refugees." Layla was standing now, Amina clutched to her chest. She looked at Sarah, eyes pleading. Sarah shook her head. "Stay down." The figures below waited. 60 seconds. Then one of them raised his rifle. The shot cracked, high, deliberate, punching through the window frame above Sarah's head. A warning. "Last chance," the voice said. Sarah's finger touched the trigger, breathed out, squeezed. The rifle kicked. One of the figures dropped. The street exploded with gunfire. Bullets hammered the building. Concrete chipped, glass shattered, ricochets screaming through the rooms. Sarah dropped below the window, rolled right, came up at a different position. She fired twice. Another figure went down. Jack was at the west window, engaging targets on that side. His shots were measured, controlled. Ex-Special Forces. It showed. "They're flanking," he shouted. Sarah shifted to the north window, saw movement, 2 men sprinting for the compound gate. She fired, missed, fired again. One dropped. The other made it to the wall, pressed flat. Then the shooting stopped. Silence, heavy, waiting. Sarah's ears rang. She checked her magazine, half empty, reloaded, counted her remaining mags. 3 left. "They're probing," Jack said, "testing our response. Next time they'll commit." "How many?" "At least 20, maybe more." He looked at her. "You've got enough ammo for one more engagement. Then we're down to throwing rocks." Sarah's jaw clenched. "My unit isn't coming. Not tonight." Jack's voice was firm. "You need to accept that." One of the refugees, a man in his 50s with a limp, approached. He spoke quickly in Arabic. Layla translated. "He says there is another way." "Another way to what?" Sarah said. "To leave, underground." Layla's eyes were urgent. "A tunnel. From the old city, he helped build it." Sarah looked at Jack. "You know about this?" "No, but it makes sense. This whole sector has underground infrastructure, water systems, bunkers from the war." He turned to the man. "Where does it go?" The man spoke again. Layla translated. 3 kilometers north, exits near the coalition checkpoint." 3 kilometers? Sarah's mind raced. "That's past our lines." "If it's real," Jack said, "and if it's not collapsed." The man nodded emphatically, speaking faster. Layla's face went pale as she listened. "What?" Sarah said. "What's he saying?" "He says he will show us, but we must go now before they bring the explosives." "Explosives?" "They will blow the building. He has seen them do it before." Layla's voice cracked. Please, we must go. Sarah looked at Jack. He was silent, calculating. We stay here, we die, he finally said. We run, we might die, but at least we're moving. Sarah looked at the refugees, exhausted, terrified, trusting her. She'd already made her choice. Show us the tunnel, she said. The entrance was in the basement, a hole in the floor hidden under rotted planks and debris. The man with the limp pulled the boards aside, revealing darkness below, a vertical shaft with rusted ladder rungs bolted to the wall. Jesus, Sarah muttered. Jack shone a flashlight down. The beam vanished into black. 20 meters, maybe more, and that's just to the tunnel. The refugees gathered around the hole. Some looked relieved, others terrified. Sarah felt their eyes on her, waiting, expecting her to decide. She wasn't trained for this. ISR specialists gathered intelligence, fed data to commanders who made decisions. She'd never led anyone, never been responsible for lives beyond her own. But Jack's words echoed in her head. You're acting like a leader whether you want to or not. Layla stepped forward, Amina on her hip. We go? Sarah looked at her, at the child, at the others. A dozen faces, maybe more. Old men, women, teenagers. People who'd done nothing wrong except survive in the wrong place. If she went down that tunnel, she was committing. No turning back, no calling for extraction. She'd be responsible for all of them. If she didn't, they'd die here. All of them, including her. We go, Sarah said. One of the refugees, a teenage boy, spoke quickly. Layla translated. He says he knows the tunnels. He can guide us. How? Sarah said. He used to smuggle. Layla's voice was matter-of-fact. Medicine, food, he knows the paths. Sarah studied the boy. 16, maybe 17. Skinny, nervous, but his eyes were steady. What's your name? She asked. Tariq, he said in accented English. You've been down there? Many times. Recently? He hesitated. 6 months. 6 months. Plenty of time for a tunnel to collapse, but they didn't have options. All right, Tariq, you're our guide. Sarah turned to Jack. You good with this? Jack's expression was unreadable. No, but we're doing it anyway. He pulled her aside, voice low. Once we're down there, there's no command structure, no comms, no support. You'll be making decisions in the dark with incomplete information. People will look to you. They'll follow your orders. His eyes locked on hers. Every death down there is yours to carry. You understand that? Sarah's throat was tight. Yes. Good. Jack's voice softened. Because I need you to understand something else. These people, they're not just following you because you're a soldier. They're following you because you chose to stay. That means something to them. It means everything. I'm just doing... You're doing more than that. Jack's hand gripped her shoulder. You're giving them hope. Don't underestimate how powerful that is. And don't underestimate how crushing it'll be if you fail. Sarah wanted to push back, to say she didn't ask for this, didn't want it. But the refugees were watching, waiting. She checked her rifle. 3 magazines, 90 rounds. Against how many? 20? 30? The odds didn't matter anymore. Let's move, she said. They descended one by one. Tariq went first, then the refugees. Layla handed Amina down to someone below, then climbed after. Jack went last, sealing the hole behind them with the rotted planks. Sarah was the third to descend. The ladder rungs were slick with condensation. Her boots slipped twice. She gripped tighter, focused on the motion. The darkness swallowed her. The flashlight beam from below was thin, barely cutting through the black. She smelled mold, rust, something chemical she couldn't name. Her boots hit stone. She was in a narrow chamber, walls close, ceiling low. Water dripped somewhere. The air was cold. Tariq was already moving, leading them into a horizontal passage. The refugees followed in single file, silent now. Sarah brought up the rear, rifle slung, pistol drawn. In these tight quarters, the rifle was useless. Jack leaned close. You did good up there. Didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. You just chose right. He paused. But down here, you're going to make calls you can't take back. Just remember, command isn't about being perfect. It's about being decisive. Sarah nodded. Her throat was dry. Ahead, Tariq stopped. He spoke to Layla. She turned back to Sarah. He says the tunnel splits ahead. 3 paths. Only one is safe. Which one? He will know when we get there. Sarah exhaled slowly. Decisive, Jack had said. But how do you decide when you don't know the terrain, don't know the enemy, don't know if the path ahead even exists? She felt the weight of the pistol in her hand, the weight of their eyes on her back. Every death is yours to carry. Move out, she said quietly, and they descended deeper into the dark. The tunnel stretched ahead like a throat. Sarah's flashlight beam carved a thin line through the darkness, reflecting off wet stone and rust-streaked pipes. The air tasted metallic. They'd been walking for 20 minutes. The passage was barely wide enough for single file. Sarah's shoulders brushed both walls. Behind her, she heard the shuffle of feet, quiet breathing, the occasional whimper from Amina. Tariq stopped ahead, raised his hand. Sarah moved forward, squeezing past 2 refugees. What is it? The boy pointed. 3 tunnels branched off from the main passage. Left, straight, right. All identical, all dark. Which one? Sarah said. Tariq knelt, examining the ground. His flashlight swept across the stone floor. He touched something, marks scratched into the rock. Faint, almost invisible. This one, he said, pointing left. You're sure? Yes, the marks. They are guides. From before. Before what? Before the smugglers stopped using these tunnels. Sarah's stomach tightened. Why did they stop? Tariq didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quiet. Some tunnels collapsed, some flooded, some... He trailed off. Some what? Some had other problems. Jack appeared beside her. We don't have time for mysteries. Pick a tunnel, or I will. Sarah looked at the 3 passages, then at Tariq's face. The boy was scared, but his finger was steady, pointing left. We go left, she said. They moved into the passage. It sloped downward. Water pooled on the floor now, ankle deep. Cold. Sarah's boots sloshed with every step. The walls closed in tighter. She had to turn sideways to fit through some sections. Behind her, one of the older refugees was breathing hard, wheezing. How much further? She called to Tariq. 1 kilometer, maybe more. 1 kilometer through this. Sarah did the math. At their current pace, 30 minutes, 40 if someone collapsed. And that was if the tunnel didn't get worse. It got worse. The ceiling dropped to 4 feet. They had to crouch, then crawl. Sarah went on hands and knees, rifle dragging in the water behind her. Her back screamed. Her knees scraped against stone. Ahead, someone was crying. Soft, muffled. Keep moving, Jack said from the rear. His voice was strained. Sarah's flashlight beam caught something on the wall. She stopped. Scratches. Deep gouges in the stone. Like someone had clawed at the rock with their fingernails. She kept moving. The passage widened slightly. Sarah stood, her spine cracking. They were in a small chamber now, maybe 10 feet across. Old equipment lined the walls. Rusted pipes, broken valves, a ladder leading up to a sealed hatch. Tariq pointed to another tunnel on the far side. Through there. But one of the refugees, an old man with a gray beard, was sitting against the wall, not moving. Sarah approached. Sir, we need to keep going. The man didn't respond. His breathing was shallow, rapid. Layla knelt beside him, spoke in Arabic. The man shook his head. He cannot breathe, Layla said. His lungs, they are bad. The air here. Sarah understood. The tunnel was oxygen depleted. They all felt it, the heaviness, the way each breath took effort. But for someone with lung problems, it was suffocating. "Can he walk?" Jack asked. "I do not think so." Jack's face was grim. He looked at Sarah. The message was clear. "We can't carry him. We can't stay. You have to choose." Sarah knelt beside the old man. "What's his name?" "Hassan." "Hassan," Sarah said gently. "We're almost out. Just a little further." The man's eyes met hers. He said something in Arabic. Layla's face went pale. "What did he say?" "He says, he will slow you down. He says to leave him." "No," Sarah said immediately. "He is right," Jack said quietly. "If we carry him, we move slower. If they catch us in these tunnels—" "I'm not leaving him." Jack pulled her aside. His voice was low, hard. "Listen to me. You've got 14 people depending on you. If we slow down, we all die. That's the math. There's always another option." "Not this time." Jack's eyes were steady. "You need to make the call. Right now." Sarah looked at Hassan, at Layla, at the others watching, waiting. She thought about what Jack had said earlier. Every death is yours to carry, but so was every life. "Tariq," she said, "how far to the next exit?" "Maybe 500 meters. Is the path clear? Can we move fast?" "I think so." Sarah turned to two of the younger refugees. "You and you, help Hassan. We carry him." Jack's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. They moved out. The two men supported Hassan between them, his arms over their shoulders. They moved slower now, much slower, but they moved. The tunnel opened into a larger space, a cistern, abandoned and dry. Stone columns held up the ceiling. Their flashlights swept across graffiti-covered walls and piles of debris. Tariq led them to the far side. Another passage, but this one had a problem. "Shit," Jack muttered. The entrance was blocked. Not completely. There was a gap at the top, maybe 2 feet high, but the lower section was filled with rubble. Concrete chunks, twisted rebar, broken bricks. "Collapsed?" Sarah asked. "Partially." Jack examined the debris. "Recent, too. See the dust? This came down in the last few weeks." "Can we clear it?" "Not without tools, and not without making noise." He looked at the gap. "We'll have to climb over." Sarah assessed the situation. The gap was high, 8 feet off the ground. They'd need to boost people up, one by one, and Hassan couldn't climb. "There has to be another way," she said. Tariq shook his head. "This is the only path. The other tunnels, they are flooded or blocked." Sarah's mind raced. They could go back, try a different route, but that would cost time. And Al-Nazir's men were somewhere above them, searching. She looked at Hassan. The old man was sitting now, his breathing ragged. "Can we widen the gap?" she asked Jack. "Maybe, but it'll take time. And if we shift the wrong piece, the whole thing could come down." "How long?" 20 minutes, maybe 30. Sarah checked her watch. They'd been underground for almost an hour. Her unit would be looking for her by now, but without comms, she had no way to signal them. "Do it," she said. Jack nodded. He and two of the refugees started working on the rubble, moving pieces carefully, testing each one before pulling. Sarah kept watch on the tunnel behind them, rifle ready. Minutes passed. The pile shifted slightly. Dust fell from the ceiling. Then Sarah heard it. Footsteps. Distant, but getting closer. "Jack!" she hissed. He stopped, listened. The footsteps echoed through the tunnels. Multiple people, moving fast. "They're in the tunnels," Jack said. "How did they—" "Doesn't matter, they're here." He looked at the gap. "We're out of time." Sarah made the call. "Everyone up, now. Boost the kids first, then the women." They moved fast. Jack and Sarah formed a step with their hands, lifting the children through the gap. Then the women. Layla passed Amina up, then climbed through herself. The footsteps were louder now. Voices. shouting in Arabic. "How many?" Jack asked. Sarah counted the refugees still on this side. 6, including Hassan. "We're not going to make it," Jack said. "Yes, we are." Sarah turned to Hassan. "Sir, I need you to climb." The old man looked at her, shook his head. "Please." He said something in Arabic. His voice was weak but firm. One of the other refugees translated. "He says, you must go. He will hold them here." "What? No!" Hassan stood, slowly, painfully. He walked to the tunnel entrance they'd come through, picked up a piece of rebar from the rubble, turned back to Sarah. His eyes were clear, resolved. "No," Sarah said again, but Hassan was already moving. He disappeared into the tunnel, back the way they'd come. The footsteps stopped. Then gunfire erupted, echoing, deafening. Sarah lunged forward. Jack grabbed her. "He made his choice," Jack said. I wouldn't have." "I know." Jack's voice was gentle. "But he did. For them. For you. Now honor it. Get these people out." Sarah's vision blurred. She nodded. They boosted the last 5 refugees through the gap. Then Jack climbed up. He reached down. "Come on." Sarah grabbed his hand. He pulled. She scrambled over the rubble, through the gap, dropping to the other side. Behind them, the gunfire stopped. The tunnel was silent except for their breathing. Hassan was gone. They moved faster now, desperate. The tunnel ahead was wider, the ceiling higher, but the water was deeper, knee-high in places, slowing them down. Sarah's mind was numb. She kept seeing Hassan's face, the way he'd looked at her, the certainty in his eyes. He made his choice. But she'd put him in that position. She'd brought them into these tunnels. She was responsible. Jack fell in beside her. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Blame yourself. Hassan was dying anyway. Bad lungs, no medicine. He knew it. He chose to make his death matter. He shouldn't have had to choose." "No, but he did. And now you have to keep moving. These people need you." Sarah looked back at the refugees. They were moving in silence, eyes forward, trusting her. She didn't deserve that trust, but she'd carry it anyway. The tunnel split again. Tariq stopped, examining the walls. "Which way?" Sarah asked. The boy hesitated. I am not sure." Sarah's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "This section, it is different. I do not remember it." "Best guess, kid," Jack said. Tariq pointed right. "I think that way." "You think?" "I am sorry. It has been a long time." Sarah looked at the 2 passages, both identical, both dark. She chose right. They walked for 10 minutes. The tunnel narrowed again, then dead-ended at a wall of collapsed stone. "Shit," Jack said. Sarah turned to Tariq. "The other path?" "Yes, I am sorry. Just get us there." They backtracked, every second wasted, every step giving Al-Nazir's men time to catch up. They took the left passage. It sloped upward. Water drained away. The air got fresher. Sarah allowed herself a moment of hope. Then she heard the explosion. The tunnel behind them erupted. The shockwave hit like a fist, slamming Sarah forward. She crashed into the wall, ears ringing, vision swimming. Dust filled the air. People were screaming. Sarah forced herself up. "Everyone okay?" Voices called back, mostly affirmatives. One woman was bleeding from her forehead. Layla was coughing, but standing. Amina was crying. Jack appeared through the dust. "Charges! They're trying to seal the tunnels. They'll bury us." "Yeah, that's the idea." He looked back. "Or they're hurting us." "Hurting us where?" "Forward, into whatever they've got waiting." Sarah's jaw clenched. "How far to the exit?" Tariq's voice was shaky. "Maybe 200 meters. Can we make it before the next charge?" "I do not know." Another explosion, closer. The tunnel shook. Chunks of ceiling fell. "Move!" Sarah shouted. They ran. The refugees stumbled forward, panic overriding exhaustion. Sarah and Jack pushed them along, weapons ready. The tunnel opened into another chamber. This one had light, a shaft of pale moonlight coming through a grate in the ceiling 15 feet above. Exit? Sarah asked. Tariq nodded. Yes, the street is above. How do we get up? There. He pointed to a ladder bolted to the wall, but 3 rungs were missing. The gap was too wide to climb. Fuck, Jack muttered. Sarah assessed. The grate was locked. Even if they got up there, they'd need to breach it. Time, noise, both in short supply. Options? She asked Jack. Boost system. Get the kids up first. They can work the lock from above. And if we can't break it, then we find another way. There was no other way. Sarah could see it in his eyes. Do it, she said. They formed a human ladder. Jack at the bottom, Sarah on his shoulders, one of the refugees above her. They lifted the children up. Tariq went last, reaching the grate. He worked on the lock. Seconds passed. A minute. Tariq, Sarah called. It is rusted. I am trying. Another explosion. The tunnel rocked. Dust poured from the ceiling. Faster, Jack shouted. The lock gave. Tariq pushed the grate open. Moonlight flooded in. Go, Sarah said. The children scrambled up. Then the women. Layla handed Amina up to waiting arms, then climbed. Sarah heard footsteps again. Behind them. Close. Jack. I know. Go. I'll cover. Not a chance. They pulled the last refugees up. Only Jack and Sarah remained. Flashlight beams appeared in the tunnel. Voices. Shouting. Ladies first, Jack said. Jack, I'm right behind you. Sarah climbed. Her hands gripped the rungs. She pulled herself up, muscles screaming. A gunshot cracked. The round sparked off the ladder beside her head. She kept climbing. Hands grabbed her arms, pulled her through the grate. Jack, she screamed. He was at the bottom, returning fire. 3 round bursts, controlled. Jack, come on. He started climbing. A round hit his leg. He grunted but kept moving. Sarah reached down, grabbed his hand, pulled. He came through the grate. They slammed it shut. Sarah shot the lock, jamming it. Below, their pursuers reached the chamber, but the lock held. For now. They were in a street, narrow, empty. Buildings on both sides, most destroyed. Sarah counted the refugees. 13. 1 less than before. Hassan. Jack was on the ground, gripping his leg. Blood seeped through his fingers. Let me see, Sarah said. I'm fine. Bullshit. She pulled his hand away. The wound was through and through. Clean. Lucky. She used her med kit, packed the wound, wrapped it tight. Jack's face was pale but steady. Can you walk? Yeah. He couldn't. Not well. But he stood anyway. Layla approached. What now? Good question. They were somewhere north of their starting point, but Sarah had no idea exactly where. Her compass told her direction, but without landmarks, she was navigating blind. She tried her radio again. Havoc 2-6, this is Calder, how copy? Static. Then, Calder, this is Havoc 2 actual, say position. Sarah's heart leaped. Havoc, I'm approximately 3 clicks north of Route Falcon. Exact position, unknown. I have 13 civilians with me, 1 injured friendly. Calder, what's your... The signal cut. Sarah tried again. Nothing. But they'd heard her. They knew she was alive. That was something. We need to keep moving, Jack said. They'll break through that grate eventually. Which way? Jack pointed northeast. Coalition checkpoint is that direction. Maybe 2 clicks. 2 kilometers. Limping. With 13 exhausted refugees and pursuers behind them. Sarah looked at the group. They were beyond exhausted. Amina was asleep in Layla's arms. The others sat or stood, swaying. One of the refugees stepped forward. A man Sarah hadn't paid much attention to before. 50s, thin, with wire-rimmed glasses held together with tape. He spoke in careful English. I can help. How? Sarah asked. I know this place. I lived here. Before, he gestured at the ruins. I built roads here, bridges. I know the paths. Your name? Kamal. You know a way to the checkpoint? Yes. Not the roads, the old ways. Through buildings. Safer. Sarah looked at Jack. He nodded. Take all the help we can get. All right, Kamal, lead the way. The engineer moved forward. He studied the street, then pointed to a collapsed building on the left. Through there. They followed him. Through rubble, over walls, across rooftops. Kamal moved with certainty, his engineer's eye reading the terrain like a map. They made good time, but Jack was slowing. His leg was bleeding again, the bandage soaked through. Jack, Sarah said quietly, you need to rest. I'll rest when we're safe. You're losing blood. I know. His voice was tight. How much farther, Kamal? 1 kilometer, maybe less. 1 kilometer. Jack could make that. Probably, Sarah hoped. They moved into another building. This one was partially intact. Walls standing, stairs usable. Kamal led them to the second floor. From a window, Sarah saw lights. Vehicle lights. Moving in a grid pattern. Coalition patrol, she said. Or Al-Nazir's men, Jack countered. Sarah raised her rifle scope. Through the optics, she could see the vehicles clearly. Humvees. American. That's ours, she said. Relief flooded through the group. Someone laughed. Someone else started crying. But Layla's face was worried. How do we reach them? Sarah studied the route. Open ground. 600 meters. No cover. We signal them, she said. I've got a strobe. She pulled the IR strobe from her kit, activated it. The device blinked, invisible to the naked eye but clear as day through night vision. The Humvees kept moving, didn't change course. They're not seeing it, Jack said. Sarah tried her radio. Havoc 2 actual, this is Calder. I have visual on your patrol, northeast of your position. How copy? Nothing. She tried again. Havoc, this is Calder. I'm signaling with IR strobe. Calder, say again, interference. The signal dropped. Sarah swore. The buildings were blocking the transmission. We need to get closer, she said. In the open, Jack shook his head. If Al-Nazir's men are out there, we don't have a choice. Sarah turned to the refugees. They were watching her, waiting. She made the call. We moved together, fast, no stopping. When we reach the patrol, get behind the vehicles. Understood? Nods. Fear in their eyes, but determination too. Sarah looked at Jack. Can you make it? Yeah. He couldn't. She knew it. He knew it. But he'd try anyway. They moved down the stairs, out into the street. The open ground stretched ahead. 600 meters. It might as well have been 6 miles. Go, Sarah said. They ran. 300 meters in, the shooting started. Muzzle flashes lit up a rooftop to their left. Rounds cracked past Sarah's head. The refugees scattered, some dropping flat, others running faster. Contact left, Sarah shouted. She returned fire. 3-round bursts, suppressing. Jack was down, on one knee, firing. His leg had given out. Sarah grabbed him. Get up! Go without me. Not happening. She pulled him to his feet. He stumbled forward, leaning on her shoulder. The patrol ahead had stopped. Humvees turning. They'd heard the gunfire. Friendlies, Sarah screamed. Friendlies with civilians. The Humvees' guns swung toward them. Then away, targeting the rooftop shooters. The .50 caliber opened up. Deafening. The rooftop erupted in dust and chunks of concrete. The refugees ran for the Humvees. Sarah and Jack followed, moving as fast as Jack's ruined leg allowed. Soldiers appeared, American uniforms. They surrounded the refugees, herding them behind the vehicles. One soldier grabbed Sarah. You called her? Yeah. Actual's been looking for you. You've got about 600 very pissed off people trying to figure out where you've been. I've been busy. No shit. He looked at the refugees. These people with you? They saved my life. They need medical attention, water, food. We've got it. Medic. Sarah lowered her rifle. Her hands were shaking. Adrenaline. Crash. Layla approached, Amina still in her arms. The child was awake now, looking at Sarah with wide eyes. Thank you, Layla said. Sarah nodded. Words felt inadequate. Jack was being loaded onto a stretcher. A medic was cutting away his pants, exposing the leg wound. He going to be okay? Sarah asked. He'll live. Lost a lot of blood, but the wound's clean. The medic looked at her. You need to get checked too. I'm fine. You've got blood all over you. Sarah looked down. He was right. Her uniform was soaked. She didn't know if it was hers, Jack's, or someone else's. She didn't care. She turned to the soldier in charge. These refugees need protection. Al-Nazir's men will come for them. Al-Nazir's men won't get past this checkpoint. We've got QRF inbound, air support on station. They make a move, we'll light them up. Sarah wanted to believe him, but she'd seen what Al-Nazir could do. I need to make a report, she said. In a bit. Right now, you need to sit down before you fall down. Sarah realized he was right. Her legs were trembling, vision tunneling. She sat on the back of a Humvee. Someone handed her water. She drank. Kamal approached, the engineer. He spoke in English, carefully. The tunnel, the one we used. You must tell your commanders, it is important. Why? Because there are others, many others. Tunnels your people do not know about. He met her eyes. We built them, years ago, for your army, to move supplies, to hide from bombs. Sarah's mind sharpened. You built them? For us? Yes, my company. We worked with American engineers, building infrastructure. But when the war changed, the tunnels were forgotten. How many? Dozens, maybe more. They go everywhere, under bases, under checkpoints. His voice dropped. People like Al-Nazir, they use them now to smuggle, to attack. You know where they all are? Some, not all, but I have maps, old maps, from when we built them. He hesitated. I will give them to you. If you promise these people, my people, you will keep them safe. Sarah looked at the refugees, exhausted, terrified, alive because of luck and desperation. I promise, she said. Kamal nodded. Then I will tell you everything. The debrief happened in a command tent 2 hours later. Sarah sat across from Major Willis, her battalion commander. Jack was there too, leg bandaged, leaning on crutches. Willis listened to Sarah's report without interrupting. When she finished, he was silent for a long moment. Let me make sure I understand, he finally said. You disobeyed standing orders to avoid civilian entanglements. You engaged hostile forces without authorization. You led 13 non-combatants through an unmapped tunnel system. And now you're telling me there are dozens more of these tunnels that we don't know about? Yes, sir. And you did all this with 4 magazines and no support. 3 magazines, sir. I started with 4. Willis's jaw tightened. This is not a joke, specialist. I'm not joking, sir. You should be court-martialed. Yes, sir. Willis looked at Jack. You have anything to add? She saved 13 lives, Jack said, including mine. And she just handed you intelligence that'll change how we operate in this sector. If that's worth a court-martial, your priorities are fucked, sir. Willis's eyes narrowed. You're lucky you're a civilian contractor, Rowan. I can't charge you with insubordination. Charge me if you want. Won't change what happened. Willis stood, paced, stopped. The refugees are being processed. They'll be moved to a secure camp by morning. Kamal's maps are being analyzed by Intel. He looked at Sarah. You got lucky, Calder. This could have gone sideways in 100 different ways. I know, sir. But it didn't. And now we've got actionable intelligence because you made a call in the field. He paused. I'm not happy about your methods, but I can't argue with the results. So, no court-martial? Not yet, But you're going to write one hell of a detailed report. Every decision, every engagement, every round fired. And if I find out you left anything out, you won't, sir. Willis nodded. Dismissed. Get some sleep. We'll continue this tomorrow. Sarah stood, saluted, turned to leave. Calder, Willis said. She stopped. What you did out there, most people wouldn't have. They'd have left those civilians, saved themselves. I couldn't do that, sir. I know. That's what worries me. He met her eyes. Combat isn't about saving everyone. It's about completing the mission. You need to learn the difference before it gets you killed. Sarah didn't respond, just nodded and left. She found Layla and Amina in the refugee processing area. The woman was sitting on a cot, the child asleep in her lap. Hey, Sarah said quietly. Layla looked up, smiled. Hello. Sarah sat beside her. You okay? Yes, they gave us food, water. Amina is happy. Layla's eyes were wet. Because of you. I didn't. You did. You chose to help us, when others would not. Layla touched Sarah's hand. Hassan, he knew. He said you were sent by God. Sarah's throat tightened. I'm not. I didn't want him to. He chose, like you chose. He saved us, and you honored that. Layla's voice was firm. Do not carry guilt for his choice. Carry gratitude. Sarah nodded, couldn't speak. Layla stood, adjusted Amina in her arms. We go to the camp tomorrow, but I will not forget. None of us will. She walked away. Sarah sat on the empty cot, surrounded by refugees she'd saved, feeling more alone than she had in the tunnels. Jack found her there 30 minutes later. Beating yourself up? He asked. Hassan's dead because of me. Hassan's dead because he chose to be. Big difference. Jack sat beside her. You want to know what I think? Not really. Tough. I'm telling you anyway. He leaned back. You think command is about making perfect decisions. It's not. It's about making the best decision you can with what you've got, then living with the consequences. Hassan made his decision. You made yours. Both were right. People died. People die in war, that's the nature of it. But you saved 13 lives today. Most soldiers never save one. He looked at her. Don't diminish that because you couldn't save everyone. Sarah exhaled slowly. Willis thinks I should have left them. Willis is an officer. He thinks in terms of doctrine and risk management. You're a soldier. You think in terms of what's right. Jack's voice softened. Both have their place. But out there, in the moment, you did what needed doing. That's all anyone can ask. Sarah wanted to believe him, but Hassan's face kept appearing in her mind. He didn't have to die, she said. No, but he made it mean something. That's more than most people get. Jack stood. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be long. He left. Sarah sat alone in the tent, listening to the quiet sounds of refugees settling in for the night. Children's voices, soft conversations, alive, because she'd chosen to stay. She closed her eyes, saw Hassan's face, saw him picking up the rebar, saw him walking back into the tunnel. He made his choice. She'd carry that, along with everything else. But Jack was right about one thing. She'd made the best decision she could, and 13 people were alive because of it. That had to be enough. Sarah woke to shouting. She was on her feet before her eyes fully opened, rifle in hand. Outside the tent, soldiers were running. Vehicle engines roared to life. She stepped into the pre-dawn darkness. The checkpoint was chaos, organized chaos, but chaos nonetheless. A sergeant grabbed her arm. You called her? Yeah. Actual wants you at TOC. Now. Sarah followed him to the Tactical Operations Center, a fortified bunker on the north side of the checkpoint. Inside, Major Willis stood over a table covered in maps and tablets. Calder, he said without looking up, you're refugees. They're gone. Sarah's stomach dropped. What? Someone hit the processing tent 2 hours ago, killed 2 guards, took the refugees. All of them. Willis finally looked at her. Including your engineer with the maps. How? This checkpoint is supposed to be secure. Someone inside helped them. We're still sorting it out. His jaw was tight. Al-Nazir wants those maps, and he wants those refugees dead for helping you. Where did they take them? Willis pointed to the map. Intel thinks here, an old factory complex 4 clicks west. Al-Nazir's been using it as a staging area. Sarah studied the map. The factory was in hostile territory, deep. What's the plan? She asked. QRF is spinning up now. Full platoon, air support, the works. We're hitting that factory in 90 minutes. I'm going. No, you're not. Sir, you're exhausted. You've been through hell, and you're not thinking clearly. Willis's voice was firm. You did your part. Let the professionals handle this. Those people trust me. If I'm not there, then they'll learn to trust someone else. Willis turned back to the map. Dismissed, specialist. Sarah didn't move. They saved my life. And you saved theirs. The debt's paid. No, sir, it's not. Willis looked at her. Really looked. Saw something in her face that made him pause. You go on this op, you follow orders. No heroics, no improvising. You do exactly what the platoon leader tells you. Clear? Clear. Then gear up. We roll in 60. The convoy moved through empty streets. 4 Humvees, 20 soldiers. Sarah crammed in the back of the third vehicle. Jack had tried to come too, but the medics had vetoed it. His leg wouldn't support combat, so Sarah went alone. Lieutenant Chen, platoon leader, briefed them en route. Factory is 3 stories, approximately 50 meters by 30. Intel suggests 12 to 15 hostiles inside, armed with small arms and RPGs. Civilians are being held in the northwest corner, ground floor. Rules of engagement? Someone asked. Standard. Positive ID before firing, but if they shoot first, light them up. The convoy stopped 2 blocks from the factory. They dismounted in silence, weapons ready. Sarah fell in with 3rd Squad. The squad leader, Sergeant Korwitz, gave her a look. You good to go? Yeah. Stay close, do what I tell you. Don't be a hero. Roger. They moved in. 2 squads from the south, 1 from the east. Sarah's squad took the southern approach, using vehicles and rubble for cover. The factory loomed ahead, windows shattered, walls pockmarked with bullet holes. A good defensive position, bad for assault. Chen's voice came through the radio. All elements, stand by. Sarah's finger rested on the trigger guard, her heart hammered. Execute, execute, execute. They moved. The southern entrance was a loading bay, wide doors half open. Korwitz led them in, rifles up, scanning. The interior was a maze. Machinery, conveyor belts, steel support columns. Dozens of places to hide. They cleared the first room, empty. Second room, empty. Then gunfire erupted from the upper floors. Rounds punched through the ceiling, sparking off metal. Contact above, Korwitz shouted. Sarah took cover behind a support column. Return fire at muzzle flashes in the darkness above. Over the radio, other squads reported similar contact. Al-Nazir's men were dug in, using the factory's layout to their advantage. Where are the civilians? Chen demanded over the net. Northwest corner, someone replied. Ground floor. Confirm visual. They're tied up, but alive. All squads converge on northwest, suppressing fire on upper levels. Sarah's squad moved. They crossed the factory floor in bounds, one fire team covering while the other moved. Textbook. But Al-Nazir's men weren't amateurs. They adjusted, concentrated fire on the approaching squads. A soldier ahead of Sarah went down, leg shot, screaming. Korwitz dragged him to cover. Medic! Sarah fired upward. 3-round bursts, forcing the shooters to keep their heads down. They reached the northwest corner. The refugees were there, bound, gagged, huddled against the wall. Layla's eyes went wide when she saw Sarah. Two soldiers started cutting them free. Then Sarah saw the wires. "Stop!" she screamed. Everyone froze. Sarah moved closer. The wires ran from the refugees' bindings to a device mounted on the wall. Amateur construction, but clear intent. "IED," she said. Korwitz swore. "EOD, we need you northwest corner, now." "Negative," the EOD tech replied over the radio. "Pinned down east side, can't move." "Can you defuse it?" Korwitz asked Sarah. "I'm ISR, not EOD." "You know more than me." Sarah examined the device. Two wires, red and black. Classic setup. Too classic. This was a trap. "It's rigged," she said. "Cut either wire, it blows." "So what do we do?" Sarah's mind raced. The device was mechanical, a pressure switch connected to the bindings. If they cut the refugees free, the switch released, the bomb detonated. Unless they maintain pressure. "We need something to hold the switch down," she said. "Tape, clamps, anything." One of the soldiers produced zip ties and a knife. Sarah used them to secure the pressure plate, keeping it compressed while she carefully cut the wires connecting to the refugees' bindings. Her hands shook. One wrong move. The last wire separated. Nothing happened. Sarah exhaled. "Get them out," Korwitz ordered. Soldiers grabbed the refugees, hustling them toward the exit. Layla clutched Amina, moving fast. Then the shooting started again. Al-Nazir's men had figured out the plan. They concentrated fire on the exit, trying to trap the refugees inside. "We're pinned," Chen shouted over the radio. Sarah moved to the doorway, saw the problem. 20 meters of open ground between the factory and the nearest cover, and 3 shooters on the second floor with perfect angles. "Smoke," Korwitz said. "Cover them." 2 soldiers popped smoke grenades. Gray clouds billowed. But it wasn't enough. The shooters fired blind into the smoke. Rounds cracked through. One refugee stumbled, fell. Sarah grabbed him, pulled him up, blood on his shirt, shoulder wound. "Move!" she screamed. They ran through the smoke, bullets everywhere. Sarah felt something tug at her sleeve, kept running. They made it to cover. The refugee collapsed. A medic was on him immediately. Sarah counted, 13 refugees, all accounted for. Layla grabbed her. "Thank you. Thank you." "Get to the vehicles," Sarah said. "Go!" More soldiers arrived, forming a corridor. The refugees ran for the Humvees, escorted. Sarah turned back to the factory. The shooting had slowed, but not stopped. "Status?" Chen called. "Civilians secure," Korwitz replied. "Recommend we pull back." "Negative. We've got 2 KIA up here, and Kamal's still inside." Sarah's blood went cold. "Say again?" "Kamal, the engineer. He wasn't with the others. Al-Nazir's got him on the 3rd floor." Sarah looked at the factory. 3rd floor meant climbing 2 stories under fire. Suicide. "Leave him," Korwitz said. "We've got the rest." "Can't," Chen replied. "He's got intel we need. If Al-Nazir realizes what he knows." An explosion rocked the building. 2nd floor, east side. "They're collapsing the structure," someone shouted. "They're going to bring it down with us inside." Chen made the call. "All squads, exfil now. Get out." Soldiers poured from the exits. Sarah moved with 3rd squad, weapons covering their withdrawal. But Kamal was still inside. Sarah stopped, looked at the factory. Korwitz grabbed her. "Don't even think about it. He gave us the maps. He saved us. And you'll die trying to save him." "Maybe." She pulled free, ran back toward the factory. The interior was hell. Fires burned. Smoke filled the air. The building groaned. Support beams failing. Floors sagging. Sarah had minutes, maybe less. She found the stairs, climbed to the 2nd floor. The smoke was thicker here, burning her lungs. "Kamal!" she shouted. No response. She kept climbing. 3rd floor. The smoke was lighter here, holes in the roof venting it out. She saw him, tied to a chair in the center of the room, beaten, blood on his face, and 3 of Al-Nazir's men standing over him. Sarah raised her rifle. The closest man turned, started to bring his AK up. Sarah fired first, center mass. He dropped. The other 2 scattered. One ran for the stairs. The other took cover behind machinery. Sarah put 2 rounds into the runner. He went down. The last man opened fire. Rounds sparked off metal around her. Sarah returned fire, moving, not giving him a steady target. Her rifle clicked empty. Last magazine spent. She dropped it, drew her pistol. The man stepped out from cover, smiled, raised his AK. A gunshot. The man's head snapped back. He fell. Sarah spun. Jack stood in the doorway, leaning on one crutch, smoking pistol in his other hand. "Told you I'd watch your back," he said. "You can't even walk." "Good thing we're on the 3rd floor. Gravity does most of the work going down." Sarah ran to Kamal, cut him free. "Can you move?" The engineer nodded, barely. Jack grabbed one arm, Sarah grabbed the other. They hauled him to the stairs. The building shuddered. A support beam collapsed behind them. "Go!" Jack shouted. They descended. 2nd floor, 1st floor. The building was coming apart. Dust and debris rained from above. They reached the exit, burst into daylight. The building collapsed behind them with a roar like thunder. A cloud of dust rolled out, engulfing them. When it cleared, Sarah was on her knees, coughing, alive. Jack sat beside her. Kamal was unconscious but breathing. Medics swarmed them. Chen appeared, looked at Sarah, at Jack, at the collapsed factory. "You two have a death wish?" he asked. "Just a debt to pay," Jack said. The convoy rolled back to base. Sarah sat in silence, watching the ruins pass by. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Jack sat across from her. "You okay?" "No." "Good, means you're still human." "I shouldn't have gone back." "But you did. That's what makes you different." Jack leaned forward. "Most people talk about honor, loyalty, duty. You live it, even when it's stupid. That's supposed to be a compliment?" "It's an observation," he smiled. "And yeah, kind of a compliment." Sarah looked at Kamal, bandaged and sleeping. "He going to be okay?" "Docs think so. Couple broken ribs, concussion, but he'll live." "Because we went back." "Yeah." Jack's voice softened. "You saved him, Sarah. You saved all of them. That matters." Sarah wanted to believe him, but she kept thinking about Hassan, about the soldiers who died at the factory, about the cost. "How do you live with it?" she asked. "The choices, the deaths." Jack was quiet for a long moment. "You don't live with it. You live despite it. You keep moving, keep fighting, because the alternative, giving up, shutting down, that dishonors everyone who didn't make it." He met her eyes. "Hassan died so those people could live. You going to waste that by drowning in guilt?" "No." "Then don't. Carry it, honor it, but don't let it break you." Sarah nodded. The shaking in her hands eased slightly. The convoy reached base. They dismounted. Sarah helped carry Kamal to the medical tent. Layla was waiting there. When she saw Sarah, she ran forward, Amina in her arms. "You came back," she said, voice breaking. "For Kamal, you came back." "Had to." Layla pulled her into a hug. Sarah stiffened, then relaxed, let herself be held. When Layla pulled back, tears streaked her face. "You are family now, all of you. We will not forget." Sarah didn't trust herself to speak, just nodded. The debrief with Major Willis happened that evening. Sarah sat across from him, exhausted. Jack was there too, leg elevated, looking smug despite everything. Willis studied them both. "That was the single most reckless, ill-advised rescue operation I've ever witnessed." "But it worked," Jack said. "That's not the point." Willis's jaw was tight. "You disobeyed orders, again, endangered the entire platoon, and saved 13 lives and recovered critical intelligence," Jack interrupted. "Don't forget that part." Willis's eyes narrowed. I could charge you both, but you won't, Jack said, because the refugees are safe. Kamal gave us maps that'll change how we operate in this theater. And your after-action report is going to look great when you spin it right. Willis was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. You're right. I won't charge you. He looked at Sarah. But there will be an investigation. Hire wants to know why a specialist ended up leading a rescue operation that should have been handled by SOF. Sarah's stomach sank. Investigation? Standard procedure. You made field decisions that resulted in combat actions and civilian casualties. Casualties? Sarah leaned forward. We saved Hassan, Willis said quietly. The old man who died in the tunnels. Technically, he was under your protection when he was killed. That makes it questionable under ROE. Sarah felt cold. He sacrificed himself. I know, but paper pushers at Division don't care. They want to make sure you didn't violate engagement protocols. Willis's expression softened. It's bullshit, but it's the game. You'll be interviewed, questioned, scrutinized, and at the end, they'll probably clear you. But it won't be pleasant. Sarah slumped back. After everything, saving 13 people, recovering the maps, stopping Al-Nazir, she was being investigated. Welcome to the military, Jack said, where doing the right thing gets you a court-martial and doing nothing gets you promoted. Willis shot him a look. That's not helping. Wasn't trying to help, just stating facts. Willis turned back to Sarah. The investigation starts tomorrow. Until then, you're confined to base. Get some rest. You'll need it. Yes, sir. Willis stood, started to leave, stopped. For what it's worth, Calder, I think you made the right calls. All of them. But right and legal aren't always the same thing. Remember that. He left. Sarah sat in silence. You okay? Jack asked. No, but I will be. Good answer. The investigation took 3 days. Sarah sat through interviews, depositions, reviews of her after-action report. Officers asked questions. She answered. They asked again. She answered again. They wanted to know why she helped the refugees, why she entered the tunnels, why she went back for Kamal. She told them the truth. She'd made the best decisions she could with what she had. Some of them understood, most didn't. On the third day, Lieutenant Colonel Bradford, the investigating officer, delivered his findings. Specialist Calder, he said, reading from his tablet, after thorough review, it is the determination of this investigation that your actions, while unconventional, were within the scope of combat decision-making. You are cleared of any violations of the rules of engagement. Sarah exhaled. Thank you, sir. However, Bradford's voice hardened. Your repeated disregard for chain of command and tendency to improvise in high-risk situations are noted. You will undergo additional training on ROE and command protocols, and your next evaluation will reflect these concerns. Understood, sir. Dismissed. Sarah left the room. Jack was waiting outside. Cleared? He asked. Cleared, but with a note in my file. Could be worse. How? You could be dead. Sarah couldn't argue with that. They walked outside. The sun was setting. The base was quiet. What now? Sarah asked. Now? You move forward. Keep doing your job. Keep making the hard calls. Jack looked at her. And you remember that 13 people are alive because you chose to act. That's your legacy, not some note in a file. Sarah nodded. In the distance, she saw the refugee camp. Temporary shelters, cooking fires, children playing, alive. 2 weeks later, Sarah received a letter. It arrived in a plain envelope, no return address. She opened it in her tent. The handwriting was shaky but careful. English, heavily accented even in written form. Dear Specialist Calder, I write this from the camp. We are safe here, thanks to you. Layla and Amina send their love. The others asked me to tell you, we pray for you each night. I know you carry weight. Hassan's death, the investigation, the cost of your choices. I am old. I have seen much war. Let me tell you what I have learned. Honor is not about being perfect. It is about being present. You were present when we needed you. You chose to act when others would not. Hassan died as a free man, protecting those he loved. There is no higher death. You gave us more than life. You gave us hope. You showed us that not all soldiers see us as problems to avoid. Some see us as people worth saving. I have given your commanders the maps, all of them, every tunnel, every path. This is my gift to you. Use them well. Stop men like Al-Nazir. Protect others as you protected us. One more thing. I spoke with your Major Willis. He does not admit it, but I see he is proud of you, as we all are. You asked me once if I could help. I gave you a path through darkness. Now I give you this. The debt is not yours to carry. It is ours. And we will spend our lives trying to repay it. With gratitude. Kamal Sarah read the letter 3 times. Then she folded it carefully and placed it in her footlocker, under her spare uniforms and personal items. She stepped outside. The sun was rising. Another day, another mission. Jack was waiting by the motor pool, leaning on his cane. His leg was healing, but slowly. Ready? He asked. For what? New assignment. Intelligence says there's activity in Sector 7. Possible tunnel usage. They want us to investigate. Us? You and me. Turns out saving refugees and recovering critical intel makes you valuable. He grinned. Congratulations. You're stuck with me. Sarah smiled. Could be worse. How? I could be doing it alone. They walked toward the briefing room. Behind them, the sun climbed higher, burning away the morning shadows. In the refugee camp, Layla watched the sunrise with Amina on her hip. The child pointed at the sky, babbling. Yes, Layla said in Arabic, smiling. A new day, because of her. She touched the small photograph she carried, a picture someone had taken at the checkpoint. Sarah, covered in dust and blood, holding Amina while Layla was being treated. A soldier and a refugee. A moment of grace in the middle of war. Layla whispered a prayer. For Sarah, for Jack, for Hassan's soul, and for all those who chose to act when the world told them to look away. The sun rose higher, and in the distance a helicopter took off, carrying Sarah toward the next mission. The debt was paid, but the work was never done.